The process or art of creating and playing music today requires either years of formal training or a lot of time spent learning a piece of software. There are numerous techniques and processes involved with making music. Some are well known, such as various effects like reverb, distortion, and so on. Some effects are, however, more niche or overlooked and could use more exploration to fully understand their potential. One process in particular will be looked at in this project. Convolution. Traditionally, convolution in music and audio production is used to recreate high-fidelity reverbs of particular places like churches or music halls. It works by taking an impulse response of the place, then your input signal,
You make me feel so good.
and then you convolve them.
You make me feel so good.
However, the impulse response doesn't have to be a traditional one. It could be water being poured. Or even birds. Depending on the impulse response, the convolved signal can have very different rhythmic and harmonic content. To understand convolution, it is easier to first look at convolution in the time domain. As an example, we have an impulse response H and an input signal X. We can put this into a convolution table with X arranged horizontally and H arranged vertically. The table is filled by multiplying the nth X element with the corresponding Y element. We then fold it anti-diagonally and sum the elements of each strip together. It is, however, much faster to convolute in the frequency domain. You Fourier transform both the impulse response and input signal and do a complex multiplication, then inverse Fourier transform to obtain the real signal. So how can you give people a good enough idea of convolution so that they think up new ways of making music and expressing themselves? This project is an attempt at answering this question. An application was built to gradually teach users the possibilities of convolution. They start in the tutorial tab, where they get a brief explanation of how convolution works. Then they move onto the beginner tab, where they have 4 contact microphones. The contact microphones used were built from piezo elements soldered onto a 6.3mm jackstick. Using contact microphones means that only the mechanical vibrations from the object are picked up, which enables the user to make his or her own impulse response from striking objects. To avoid unnecessary confusion though, the user is limited to picking an impulse response from a pre-made bank. In the beginner tab, effects are also enabled, albeit ones that affect all the microphones. In the intermediate tab, more options are enabled, such as making your own impulse response and attaching it to any of the 4 microphones. Also, effects are now applied individually to each microphone. Albeit not implemented, a 4th tab, Advanced, would allow the user to control all parameters of the effects and the equalizer for the impulse response generator and the final mix. In order to test the system, several people with different backgrounds tried it out. They went through the different tabs and played around with the objects that were placed in the room. The purpose of the test was to provide opportunity for people to discover the possibilities of convolution, and during the interview afterwards, people expressed that they had a good grasp of the concept, at least good enough to use it. The biggest problem we have is that the program is essentially an open playground. While it has a lot of freedom, it also has no clear purpose. This leaves us with some possibilities for future development. We have a few ideas, such as rhythmic processing, wherein a beat would automatically be created based on the frequencies of the input. We could also link effects to the input, such that they change dynamically with the music. Or even focus on the contact microphones to expand the project to more objects and more instruments. Thank you for watching.